The Civil War tore the United States of America apart. The deadly conflict pitted families and neighbors against each other. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected President of the United States, much to the chagrin of the Confederate South. Soon after the election of Republican candidate Abraham Lincoln to the presidency in 1860, South Carolina seceded from the United States on December 20th. Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas followed South Carolina. South Carolina seceded from the Union. Well, what does it mean to secede? Secede means to break away. They were going to form their own republic, the Confederate States of America. The first shot of the war was fired by Southern forces at Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor in 1861. Slavery became a cause of contention in the United States as early as 1820 with America's expansion into the West. The Missouri Compromise preserved the balance of slave and free states entering the Union from the new territories of the West, but the slavery issue became steadily more and more explosive. Texas entered the Union as a slave state in 1845, and the Compromise of 1850 divided the territories, won in the Mexican War. Anti-slavery sentiment grew steadily hotter, fed by such incidents as the publication of Harriet Beecher Stowe's abolitionist novel Uncle Tom's Cabin in 1852. Renegades such as Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Tubman led the charge of leading slaves to freedom.
Can you?
When Abraham Lincoln became president, he asked General Robert E. Lee to command the Union Army. Well, Lee declined, and he said that he was duty-bound to fight for Virginia, his home state. Lee soon emerged as one of the most masterful and powerful generals of the war. He was the general-in-chief of the Confederacy. By January of 1863, Abraham Lincoln was trying to find a commander who could defeat General Lee. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation to take effect on January 1st. But what is the Emancipation Proclamation? What it did, it freed the slaves. To emancipate means to free, and the slaves that had been enslaved in the South for years and years were finally free. The Battle of Gettysburg initiated on July the 1st, 1863.
In 1863, a special train had come up from Washington, bringing a mighty important man who had a speech to make at a place called Gettysburg.
A lot of folks gather at Gettysburg for a dedication, and among them is the president. He looks older now, seldom smiles. War's been so long, so many dead on both sides. After a while, after the main speaker, he has a few words to say. He speaks briefly, quietly, of the brave men, living and dead, who struggle here. Says we must resolve that they shall not have died in vain. that our nation shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address in 1863. Do your duty in all things. You cannot do more. You should never wish to do less. Those are the words of Robert E. Lee. Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered in 1865 at the Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia.